Good afternoon. How are you? Well, I managed to keep my schedule so that I can get out today, and it's just gorgeous out. Thomas Jefferson says the temperature is 70 degrees, just kind of right, and that the humidity is 56. You don't really feel that at all. And Thomas Jefferson says that our winds are 2.8 miles an hour, and that's described as breezy. So we're facing crises in America, and this is part now of a long odyssey from 2015 to now. And Trump has gradually aggregated for himself the kind of power that he doesn't use well, that he abuses. And so now that there's been a government shutdown, Trump is shutting down the government, blaming Dems for layoffs, and tying up infrastructure projects in blue states. Now, keep in mind that he is supposed to be, even in this period of time, the president for the entire nation, for its people. This is not a partisan responsibility to use a crisis to hurt those who you think can be forced to bargain away their rights for the punishment that you impose upon them. And red alert, the shutdown should be handled uniformly across all the states. And when you say you're doing this to blue states, there are no true blue states. They all have R's, Republicans as well. So even when you're punishing someone in a blue state because you believe they're Democrats who did nothing as a voter to win this abuse, you're also affecting ours, Republicans. Another thing that is the case is the red states are suffering more given the issue that the Democrats have chosen to take their stand upon, and that has to do with health care. So more generally, Trump's resistance to acknowledge the needs of all people, Republican and Democrat, rich and poor states, red and blue states, is another failure of the government, is another failure of Trump. Now, when I worked on the Hill, I was always concerned about the unintended consequences of a statute that applied generally over perhaps millions of people, because there are those people who will suffer the unintended consequences of an act. Trump doesn't appear, nor does his team appear, to understand that it's very hard to write a law, and in this case, just punish one segment of society, the voters too. These are not leaders. This is just to abuse the followers of, I guess, Democrats, independents, greenies, whatever. This is to punish them for having the temerity to question the great Trump. So I find it in private practice the same thing. You know, if you in private practice, say you have a single client and you work for that client, and the unintended consequence for others is limited because you have control of the variables. But when you're on the Hill and you're writing a statute or proposing a remedy that affects a lot of people, it also affects a lot of people you're not thinking about in ways that you had not considered. So Trump is administering in a clumsy and unnecessary way. Now, what else has Trump gotten wrong? Trump has chased the Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, and the court said, leave her alone, Trump. Leave her alone. He's left her, and the court decided that she should remain in place. Trump has been after Harvard. You know, this is a twofer. One, he's against education. And, you know, this goes back to my youth in the sense that Eisenhower believed that a nation should have the best and brightest, do the best we can in science. And he had programs that I and others were beneficiaries of who were interested in math and science and so forth. There were scholarships, there were grants, there were all sorts of things going on. That was a Republican. And that pretty much remained true. And the influence of the West Coast and Silicon Valley in its best times, and I assume they're going on now, some of them, but it's not visible because we're in so much pain. They understood that for us, in a world economy, competition is dependent upon how smart people are. And so in the programs I was at, I have undergraduate degrees in physics and engineering. And in engineering, there were quite a number of people from outside the United States, and a lot of them stayed here. And so we had an increment of brains, smart people who could do great things for us and wanted to. The positions I had as I was going through school leaned on this a little bit, permitted me to go through school because of the grants and programs and work study monies and things like that. Because Trump doesn't see that. So on the one hand, he's against Harvard as an educational institution. On the other hand, he believes that Harvard is anti-Semitic. And what Harvard has done is called the administration wrong on its facts. And that's out today. And we shouldn't be surprised, because stupid is as stupid does, and that's what they do. That's what they do. If you choose somebody who's dumb, you shouldn't be surprised when you get a dumb result or an unfair one. And we have legions of examples of this. And then even the way of decorum. Vance, our vice president, thinks that the racist AI image of Jeffries in a sombrero is just fine. Really? Really? The vice president says this about the minority leader of the House in the company of the Senate minority leader. Supposedly, when they're at the White House to have a discussion about how to avoid the shutdown we're now experiencing. Don't you see a character flaw there? How do you expect to get business done when you're so abusive, racist? But our Secretary of War, he wants to be the Secretary of War, and he only wants white faces, doesn't want women, doesn't want blacks, doesn't want people of different views, wants to regulate their facial hair. Let's take a look at Vance in that regard. This is the insanity that has become our daily living as to the government of the United States. When I was an AUSA in the Southern District of New York, and before that a law clerk, there's a location there, 26 Federal Plaza. And that's where they have a lot of the hearings involving the deportment and showing up for immigration and things like that. Masked ICE agents beat 2 photojournalists to the ground. What kind of training are they getting? Who are we hiring? Are we hiring local gang leaders? Do we question them at all? Do you hate people who are different than you? And who told you could punch the living shit out of people? That's wrong. And then, of course, we also have floating around us all the time the fact that Trump and others believe global warming. That's a phony thing. There's no such thing. That's a great hoax. Yeah. Well, global warming has led to the warming of the waters, the rising of the seas. And if you're at the Outer Bank and you had a home there, it may have fallen into the ocean. It's not an exaggeration. And by the way, where do you think we're sending some of the deported? we're sending them to Tehran. Remember Iran, where we dropped huge bombs? Well, now we're sending the deported there, 400 immigrants. How does that happen? What kind of policy is that? Is this some sort of side deal we don't know about? Probably. Or I don't know about it. Maybe you do. So I'd like to finish with a couple of thoughts I have about how we produce and praise special people. How, despite the disease that has infected the Oval Office, we still have heroes to celebrate. I'm thinking of Jane Goodall. From her younger years, she knew what she could make a difference for the environment and for animals. And she worked at it, and she did extraordinary things. And she was well praised for it. I hate to say it because I'm not 100% sure, but I thought she got a Nobel Peace Prize as well. Hers was a life of love and discovery. This is the kind of people that we want to populate our planet, our nation, the halls of Congress, the current halls of injustice, the Oval Office, everywhere. No, not her specific talent and contribution, although some should fall into that category because we have serious environmental problems. But our nation has the strength to overcome this assault on its original promise of equal justice for all, of a right for us to vote that grew over the years to be what it was hinted it could be, and equality before the law. That's what we're working for. Those are our objectives. Even while Trump compromises us and resists us in every direction, so must we resist him and do better. All the best. Bye-bye.